Marcus Kane had commanded 200 men in war and 150 in crime. Leading Marines had been easier. At least in war, he knew who the enemy was. The morning light filtered through the blinds of his office, casting long shadows across the oak desk that once belonged to Vincent Donovan. 3 years had passed since the old man died, leaving Marcus an empire he never wanted and a burden he could not refuse. The office still smelled faintly of Vincent's cigars, though Marcus had never touched tobacco. Some ghosts lingered in the walls themselves. He arrived at 7, an hour before his lieutenants. Old habits from the Corps. Early was on time was late. He made coffee in the small kitchen behind the legitimate shipping company that fronted his real business. Kane Logistics handled freight contracts across the Midwest. Legal, profitable, boring. It also provided perfect cover for money that needed washing, goods that needed moving, and men who needed employment that did not ask questions about their past. Marcus poured his coffee black and stood at the window overlooking South Chicago. The industrial landscape stretched toward the lake, a patchwork of warehouses and rail yards and neighborhoods where people worked hard for too little. His territory, his responsibility. 150 men depended on him for their livelihoods, more than that if you counted families. He had done the math once during a sleepless night. 473 people, give or take. Mouths to feed, rent to pay, kids to clothe. The weight of it sat heavy on his shoulders, heavier than any ruck he had carried in the Marines. The door opened at 8 sharp. Daniel Callahan entered first, as always. Irish, they called him, though he had been born in Boston and never set foot in Ireland. 52 years old, Army infantry, Iraq veteran, scarred hands and hard eyes, loyal to a fault which made him dangerous when he disagreed. 3 more lieutenants followed. Marcus knew their service records by heart. All veterans. All men who came home from war and found no place that fit them. Vincent had built his organization on that principle. Soldiers without a country, brothers without a cause, until they found each other. The weekly meeting began with numbers. Collections were up 12%. 3 new gambling locations were operating smoothly on the west side. The loan portfolio had expanded into 2 new neighborhoods. Irish delivered each report with military precision. No wasted words, just facts. The organization was healthy, growing, profitable. On paper, everything looked perfect. Marcus listened and said little. He had learned this from Vincent. A boss who talked too much revealed too much, but his silence today was different. His mind kept wandering to the conversation he would have later, the one he had been avoiding for months, the one that might change everything. Irish finished his report and leaned back. The other lieutenants waited. Finally, Irish spoke the words they were all thinking. "Boss, the Southside operation is running smooth. We should expand. 3 more locations. I already scouted the spots." Marcus took a sip of coffee, letting the silence stretch. Expansion meant more territory. More territory meant more exposure. More exposure meant more risk. He had been saying no to expansion for 6 months. The men were getting restless. "We are big enough," Marcus said finally. "Do not need more attention." Irish's jaw tightened. Vincent would have taken the opportunity. The room went quiet. Invoking Vincent's name was a deliberate move. Irish knew it. So did everyone else. Marcus met his lieutenant's eyes. "Vincent is dead. I am not Vincent." The words hung in the air. One of the younger lieutenants shifted in his seat. Irish held Marcus's gaze for 3 seconds, then nodded slowly. The moment passed, but something had changed. Marcus felt it. A crack in the foundation. Small, but growing. The meeting continued. Routine matters, nothing urgent. Then a young soldier named Michael raised his hand. 24 years old, former Army, served in Afghanistan. Good kid. Trying hard. Marcus nodded for him to speak. "Boss, I cannot make this month's payment up the chain. My daughter, she has medical bills, breathing problems. The insurance, it does not cover everything. The room went still. Missing a payment was serious. It showed disrespect. It invited discipline. Irish's eyes narrowed. The old rules were clear, no exceptions. Marcus looked at the young man, saw the shame in his face, the fear, the desperation of a father who would do anything for his child. He had been there. Different circumstances, same feeling. How much are you short? 3,000. Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. He counted out 30 $100 bills and slid them across the table. Pay your daughter's bills. We will handle the books. The young man's eyes went wide. Boss, I will pay you back, I swear. I know you will. Take care of your family first. That is what matters. After the soldier left, Irish remained behind. He waited until the door closed before speaking. Boss, with respect, you cannot keep doing that. The men see weakness. Marcus stood and walked to the window. I see a father who needs help. We have all been there. That is not how Vincent ran things. Maybe Vincent ran it wrong. Irish's voice hardened. Careful, boss. The Volkov crew is watching. They smell blood in the water. They think you are soft. And if they think it, others will too. Marcus turned to face his lieutenant. Irish was right, and they both knew it. In this life, perception was everything. Show weakness and rivals moved in. But what Irish saw as weakness, Marcus saw as something else. Something he could not quite name but felt deep in his chest when he looked at that young father. His phone rang. The display showed an unknown number. Marcus almost ignored it, then remembered he was expecting a call. He answered. The voice on the other end was female, professional, controlled. Mr. Kane, this is Special Agent Rachel Torres. FBI, we need to talk. Marcus kept his face neutral, but Irish's expression shifted immediately. FBI calling the boss directly was never good. I do not talk to FBI. Even when it concerns your family's safety, I have information about a threat to your organization and to the people you care about. Meet me, 1 hour, public place, Starbucks on Michigan Avenue, come alone. She hung up before he could respond. Marcus stared at the phone. Irish waited. What did they want? A meeting. Says it is about a threat. It is a setup. Maybe, or maybe it is legitimate. Either way, I need to know what they know. Irish shook his head slowly. Boss, this is a mistake. FBI does not call to help. They call to build a case. I will be careful. After Irish left, Marcus sat at his desk and stared at the only personal item in his office, a photograph in a simple frame. Sarah, Jake, Emma, taken 5 years ago at Navy Pier, before the divorce, before everything fell apart. Sarah was laughing at something Jake had said. Emma was making a silly face at the camera. They looked happy. They looked like a family. He had not spoken to Sarah in 6 months, had not seen the kids in longer. They believed he was a business consultant, helping struggling companies restructure. A boring job that paid well and required lots of travel. The lie had been easy at first. Now it felt like a wall between them, growing taller every day. Marcus locked the office and drove downtown. Chicago traffic was heavy, but he barely noticed. His mind was running scenarios. FBI reaching out directly was unusual. They either had something big or they were desperate. Neither option was good. But the mention of his family had been deliberate. They knew that would get his attention. Starbucks was crowded with the late morning rush, laptop workers and business meetings and tourists. Marcus spotted her immediately. Latina woman, late 30s, sitting alone at a corner table. She wore civilian clothes but carried herself like military. He recognized the posture. Straight back, alert eyes, hands visible. She had done this before. He sat down across from her. Neither spoke for a moment. She studied him openly, He let her. The game was simple. Show no fear, give nothing away. "Thank you for coming," she said finally. "You have 5 minutes. Talk." Rachel Torres slid a folder across the table. Marcus did not touch it. Dmitry Volkov, Russian organization expanding west from New York. He has been moving product through Chicago for 6 months. Now he wants territory, your territory. Why tell me? You want us to eliminate each other. I want you to cooperate. Testify against Volkov. We protect you and your family. Witness protection, new identities, clean slate. Marcus almost laughed. I do not cooperate. Not even to protect your children. The shift in her tone made him pause. She opened the folder and turned it toward him. The photograph showed Emma at a library computer. The image was clear, time stamped from yesterday. On the screen, visible even in the surveillance photo, were search results. Chicago organized crime, Kane logistics, criminal enterprise. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. You are watching my daughter. We are watching you. She appeared in the footage. She is investigating, Mr. Kane. Smart kid, journalist instincts. How long before she connects the dots, before she figures out what her father really does for a living? He stared at the photo. Emma looked so focused, so serious. 17 years old and already asking the right questions, the dangerous questions. Rachel leaned forward. I read your service record, Force Recon, Silver Star for Valor in Fallujah. You saved your entire squad when your convoy was ambushed. Carried 2 wounded men half a mile under fire. You were a hero once. That was a different life. Was it, or did you just change uniforms? The question hit harder than he expected. He thought about the young soldier that morning. Thought about the 150 men who depended on him. Thought about Irish and loyalty and honor and all the things Vincent had taught him about taking care of your people. What do you want from me? Help us dismantle Volkov's organization. Then walk away from yours. We can make this work, but you have to choose. Your empire or your family. I walk away, 150 men lose their income. Their families starve. Volkov moves in and eliminates anyone who resists. You are asking me to abandon my people. I am asking you to save your children. You cannot protect everyone, Marcus. You are going to have to choose. His phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Can we talk? The kids have been asking about you. Maybe lunch this week. He stared at the message. 6 months since they had spoken beyond brief logistics about the kids. 3 years since the divorce. 3 years of keeping his distance to keep them safe from his world. And now that world was closing in anyway. Marcus stood without answering Rachel's question. I need to think. You do not have much time. Volkov is making his move soon. When he does, people will die. Make sure it is not your family. He walked out into the bright Chicago morning. The sun felt too warm, the traffic too loud. Everything seemed sharper, more immediate. He walked instead of driving back to his car, needed to clear his head, needed to think. Michigan Avenue was crowded. Tourists and shoppers and business people rushing to meetings. Marcus moved through them, lost in thought. 3 years ago, Vincent had called him to the hospital. Stage 4 lung cancer, weeks to live. The old man had looked small in that bed, nothing like the powerful boss who commanded fear and respect across Chicago. Vincent's last words had been simple. You are the only one with honor left. Either save them or bury this thing honorably. At the time, Marcus thought he understood. Take over the organization, keep the men employed, protect the families, honor the legacy. But now he wondered if Vincent had meant something else. Maybe saving them meant something different. Maybe it meant setting them free. He stopped at a corner, waiting for the light to change. People crowded around him. A mother with 2 young children. An old man with a cane. Business executives in expensive suits. Normal people living normal lives. People who went home at night without looking over their shoulders. People who did not run criminal enterprises or worry about FBI investigations or rival organizations threatening their families. The light changed. Marcus stepped into the crosswalk. Halfway across, something made him look up. Maybe instinct, maybe fate, maybe just terrible timing. On the other side of the street, walking toward him, was Sarah. Time did something strange. The noise of the traffic faded. The crowd seemed to blur. All he could see was her. 3 years and she looked different. Her hair was shorter, practical. She wore scrubs, probably coming from or going to the hospital. She looked lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted, the weight of being married to him. On either side of her were Jake and Emma, both 17 now, nearly adults. Jake was tall, athletic, wearing a Naval Academy t-shirt. Emma carried a camera around her neck. They were laughing at something, the three of them together, easy and comfortable. Sarah looked up. Their eyes met across 40 feet of asphalt and moving people. Recognition hit her face. Shock, then pain, then something complicated he could not read. She stopped walking. So did he. Jake noticed his mother's reaction, followed her gaze, saw Marcus. The recognition took a moment, then his face lit up. Dad. The word cut through everything. Emma heard it too, turned to look. Her expression was different, more guarded, the journalist in her already suspicious. They met in the middle of the crosswalk. Horns honked around them. People flowed past, annoyed at the obstacle. But Marcus could not move, could not breathe. His family, right here, right now, when he was least prepared. Marcus. Sarah's voice was soft, careful. Sarah, kids. Jake stepped forward, grinning. I did not know you were in the city. What are you doing here? Business meeting. The lie came automatically. Emma studied him with those sharp eyes. What kind of business? Logistics, consulting. Another lie, easier now. He had been lying to them for so long. Funny, I was just researching Chicago logistics companies for a school project. Kane Logistics came up. That is yours, right? The question was innocent on the surface, but Marcus saw the calculation behind it. Emma knew, or suspected, or was close to knowing. He could see it in her face. Yeah, small operation, nothing exciting. Sarah must have sensed the tension. Kids, can you give us a minute? Get coffee, I will meet you there. Jake looked confused but nodded. Emma hesitated, then followed her brother, but she glanced back once. Marcus saw her fingers move to her camera, not taking a photo, just touching it, like a reflex. Sarah waited until they were out of earshot. When she spoke, her voice was low and urgent. You look tired. Long weeks. Are you okay, really? The question surprised him. After 3 years of silence, of distance, she still asked. Still cared. It made everything harder. Why would I not be? Because I know you. I know that look. Something is wrong. He wanted to tell her everything. About Volkov, about the FBI, about the impossible choice he was facing. About how he had tried to protect them by staying away, but it had not worked because Emma was already digging and the danger was already circling, and he did not know how to keep them safe anymore. But the words stayed locked inside, because telling her the truth meant admitting he had been lying for years, meant watching her face change when she realized what he really was, what he had become. I am fine. She did not believe him, he could see that, but she did not push, not here, not now. The kids miss you. Jake talks about you constantly. Emma, she paused. Emma has been asking questions. What kind of questions? About what you really do. She is smart, Marcus. She is going to figure it out if she has not already. A horn blared. They were still standing in the crosswalk. The light had changed again. Sarah stepped back toward the curb. Marcus followed. I have kept them safe. That is what matters. Safe from what? Her eyes searched his face. If there is nothing to hide, why do they need protecting? Before he could answer, Emma called out from down the block. Mom, we are going to be late. Sarah looked at Marcus one more time. Something in her expression made his chest tight. Hope maybe, or regret, or both. Can we talk, really talk? Dinner this week, just us. He knew he should say no, knew that every moment with them was a risk, but the word that came out was different. Yeah, I would like that. She smiled, small, sad. I will text you. Then she was gone, walking toward the kids. Jake waved. Emma watched him for a long moment before turning away. Marcus stood on the corner and watched his family disappear into the Chicago crowd. His phone rang. Irish. Boss, we have a situation. You need to get back here. Now. The tone said everything. Marcus walked fast to his car, drove back to the office through traffic that seemed deliberate in its slowness. When he arrived, Irish was waiting outside with 2 other men. Their faces were grim. Volkov hit the West Side operation. 2 of our guys are in the hospital. Broken bones, but they will live. He left a message. Irish handed him a photo. It showed their gambling location. Someone had spray-painted words across the wall. Kane's territory is contested. Marcus stared at the message. This was it. The move Rachel had warned about. Volkov was forcing his hand, forcing him to respond, to show strength or show weakness. There was no middle ground. Inside, his lieutenants were gathered. Angry faces. Men who wanted blood for blood. Men who expected their boss to lead them into war. We hit them back, one said. Twice as hard, show we cannot be pushed. Others agreed. Voices rose, demands for retaliation, for justice, for respect. Marcus raised his hand. Silence fell. We do not escalate. Double security on all operations. Fortify our positions. No offensive action. The room erupted. Lieutenants talking over each other. This was defensive. This was weak. Vincent would never have accepted such disrespect. Irish's voice cut through. Boss, that is defensive. Vincent would have hit back immediately. Show strength. I am not Vincent. Marcus kept his voice level. We do not start wars. Volkov already started it, Irish shot back. We are just finishing it, or are we too weak to defend ourselves? The challenge was open now. The lieutenants watched, waiting to see how their boss would respond. Marcus could feel the moment shifting, could feel loyalties beginning to waver. We defend our people, we protect our operations, but we do not rush into a war that will get good men killed. I will handle Volkov, my way. He left before anyone could argue, went to his office and closed the door, sat in Vincent's chair and stared at the photograph of his family. His phone buzzed, unknown number, a text message, no words, just 4 photographs. The first showed Sarah's hospital from across the street. The second showed Emma's high school. The third showed the wrestling gym where Jake practiced. The fourth showed his house, the one Sarah and the kids lived in, the one he had not entered in 3 years. The message was clear. Volkov knew everything. The locations, the schedules, the vulnerabilities. He was not just threatening Marcus's organization. He was threatening his family. Marcus's hands shook as he stared at the images. All those years of keeping his distance. All those sacrifices to keep them safe from his world. And it had not mattered. The danger had found them anyway. He made 2 phone calls. The first was to Tommy Sullivan, his oldest friend from the Marines, the only person from his old life he still trusted completely. I need your help, personal security, my family. Tommy's voice was careful. What is going on? Volkov, he is threatening them. Brother, you know what you need to do. Do not. Get out. Walk away before it is too late. I cannot. If I walk, Volkov moves in. Eliminates anyone who worked for me. 150 families lose everything. So 150 families matter more than yours. More than Sarah. More than Jake and Emma. Marcus had no answer to that. I will protect your family, Tommy said finally. But Marcus, this ends one of 3 ways. You in prison, you dead, or you out. Choose before someone chooses for you. The second call was harder. Marcus stared at his phone for a full minute before dialing. Rachel Torres answered on the first ring. That offer you made, tell me more. I am listening. I want my family protected. Witness protection, new identities, everything. In exchange for everything, full cooperation, testimony against Volkov. He paused. And I dismantle my own organization. Silence on the other end. When Rachel spoke again, her voice was different, surprised. You would turn on your own people. No, I would save them, by getting them out before this war kills them all. Can you do this or not? Meet me tomorrow, same place. Bring proof of good faith. Financial records, operations logs, names. Show me you are serious and we can make this work. Marcus hung up, stood and walked to the wall safe hidden behind a painting of the Chicago skyline. Vincent had installed it 20 years ago. Inside were 15 years of records. Every operation, every payment, every name. Evidence that could destroy everyone he had ever worked with. His hand hovered over the combination lock. One turn and he crossed a line he could never uncross, became an informant, a rat, the worst thing a man in his position could be. His phone rang again, Sarah this time. Marcus, something happened. Her voice was tight with worry. Emma came home upset. She was asking questions about Kane logistics, about organized crime connections. She found something online. Marcus, what is she going to find? He closed his eyes, saw Emma's face at the crosswalk, saw the suspicion in her eyes, saw her touching that camera like she was documenting evidence. Sarah, we need to talk, in person. Tonight, it is important. You are scaring me. Good, you should be scared. So should I, he checked his watch. I will be there in an hour. Marcus, what is this about? He thought about the photographs, Volkov's threat, the FBI's offer, Irish's challenge, Vincent's last words, the 150 men who depended on him and the 3 people who mattered more than all of them combined. It is about the truth, about what I really do, about choices I made and prices we all have to pay. His voice caught. About trying to save you before it is too late. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. I will see you soon. Marcus hung up, opened the safe, stared at the files that could end everything. Then he loaded them into a briefcase. Not all of them, not yet, but enough to show Rachel he was serious, enough to start down a road with no turning back. He took one last look at the office. Vincent's desk, Vincent's chair, Vincent's empire, a legacy built on loyalty and brotherhood and taking care of soldiers who had nowhere else to go. A good thing twisted into something dark, protection that became extortion, security that became violence, family that became a cage. Marcus turned off the lights and walked out. The briefcase felt heavy in his hand, heavier than any weapon he had carried in war, because this would hurt more people than any bullet, would betray more trust than any enemy ever could. But as he drove toward Sarah's house, toward the conversation that would change everything, he thought about what Tommy had said. 3 ways this ends. Prison, death, or out. For the first time in 15 years, Marcus chose out. The city lights blurred past his window. Chicago at night, beautiful and brutal. His city, his territory, his prison. He had protected it and the people in it for so long that he forgot what he was supposed to be protecting them from. Himself. The answer had been there all along. Vincent had seen it at the end. Either save them or bury this honorably. Marcus had tried to do both and ended up doing neither. But tonight, driving toward his family with a briefcase full of evidence and a phone number for an FBI agent who offered impossible hope, he finally understood. Saving them meant letting go. Burying it meant walking away. And honor meant facing the consequences of every choice he had made along the way. Marcus Kane had commanded men in war and crime, had built an empire and a legend, had tried to be a good boss to 150 soldiers and a good father to 2 children. But you could not serve 2 families. Not really. Not when one required darkness and the other deserved light. The crossing that morning had not been chance. It had been a choice. The universe putting his 2 worlds side by side and asking which one mattered more. He had known the answer the moment he saw them, had known it for years but been too afraid to admit it. Tomorrow he would meet Rachel Torres, would hand over evidence, would start cooperating, would become the thing every man in his organization feared most. But tonight he would tell Sarah the truth, would watch her face when she learned what he really was, would try to explain the unexplainable and ask for forgiveness he did not deserve. And then, if she let him, he would talk to Jake and Emma, would look his children in the eyes and tell them their father was a criminal, would watch their hero worship turn to disgust or worse, to pity. The price of redemption was everything. His reputation, his organization, his identity, everything except the 3 people who mattered most. Marcus parked outside the house where his family lived without him. Lights were on inside. He could see shadows moving behind curtains. Normal life. The life he had given up to protect them. The life he would burn his world down to give them back. He picked up the briefcase and walked toward the door. Behind him, Chicago sprawled in the darkness. 150 men would wake up tomorrow still believing their boss would protect them, still trusting the empire Vincent built. They would learn soon enough. A boss who really protects his people knows when to let them go, knows when the greatest act of leadership is surrender, knows that sometimes saving everyone means sacrificing everything. Marcus Kane had been a Marine, a husband, a father, and a boss. Tomorrow he would become something else, an informant, a betrayer, a man who chose family over empire and would spend the rest of his life wondering if he made the choice too late. He rang the doorbell and waited, heard footsteps inside. The door opened. Sarah stood there. Behind her, Jake and Emma watched from the living room. His family, whole and healthy and looking at him with questions in their eyes. Marcus took a breath and stepped across the threshold into a future he could not see, but knew would cost him everything he had built. The door closed behind him. Outside, Chicago continued its eternal rhythm. Inside, the hardest conversation of his life was about to begin. And somewhere in the city, an FBI agent named Rachel Torres waited for a phone call that would bring down an empire. A Russian boss named Dmitry Volkov planned his next move in a war he did not know he had already lost. And 150 men slept peacefully, still believing their boss would protect them tomorrow the same way he had yesterday. They were all wrong. Everything was about to change. But for Marcus Kane, sitting down across from his family with the weight of 15 years pressing on his chest and the truth finally demanding to be spoken, the only thing that mattered was what happened next. The truth, the consequences, and whatever came after, the living room felt smaller than Marcus remembered. 3 years since he had crossed this threshold. 3 years of seeing his family only in public places, neutral ground where conversations stayed safe and shallow. Now he sat on the couch where he used to watch football with Jake, across from the armchair where Sarah used to read, and the weight of what he was about to say pressed down like physical force. Sarah had made coffee. Nobody touched it. Jake sat forward, eager and confused. Emma leaned back, arms crossed, already suspicious. Sarah stood by the window, backlit by streetlights, her face half in shadow, like she was preparing herself for impact. Marcus had rehearsed this conversation 100 times during the drive over, had planned the words carefully, thought about how to explain the unexplainable. But now, looking at their faces, all those prepared speeches felt hollow. "I have not been honest with you." The words came out rougher than intended. "About what I do, about who I work for, about the life I have been living since Vincent died." Jake's expression shifted. "What do you mean? You run a logistics company." "I do, but that is not the real business. That is just the surface, the cover for something else." Emma's eyes narrowed. Her hand moved to her pocket where Marcus knew she kept a small recorder, always documenting, always gathering evidence. She had figured it out already, he realized, or most of it. She was just waiting for confirmation. Sarah's voice was quiet. "Tell them, Marcus, all of it." So he did. Told them about Vincent Donovan and the organization built on veterans who came home from war with no place to go. Told them about the gambling operations and the loan business and the protection services that were not really protection. Told them how he had taken over when Vincent died, how he had tried to keep it clean, how that was impossible in a life that was fundamentally dirty. He did not use soft words, did not hide behind euphemisms, called it what it was: organized crime, illegal enterprise, a syndicate. The kind of thing his children studied in criminal justice classes and watched in documentaries and believed only happened to other families. Jake's face went through stages. Disbelief, confusion, anger hurt. He stood up twice, sat down both times. Finally, he just shook his head. "No, no, you are a Marine. Marines do not." "Marines are human. We come home broken and the country does not know what to do with us. Some of us find the wrong solutions." "You are lying." But Jake's voice cracked on the words. He wanted it to be a lie, needed it to be. Emma had not moved, had not reacted. She just watched Marcus with those sharp journalist eyes, recording every word, every pause, every tell. "How long?" she asked finally. 15 years, since 2009. And Mom knew. Sarah stepped forward. "I knew pieces, suspected more. When your father and I divorced, I knew enough to know I could not stay." Emma turned to her mother. "So you both lied, for years." "I lied to protect you," Marcus said. "To keep you away from a world that destroys everything it touches." "Did it work?" Emma's voice was cold. "Because I have been researching organized crime in Chicago for 3 months. I have files on Kane Logistics. I know about the shell companies and the cash businesses and the guys with records who work there. I was going to write an article for the school paper. Now I find out it is my father." The room went silent. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. His daughter had been investigating him, building a case. Probably had evidence in her room right now. "Emma," Sarah's voice held warning. But Emma was not finished. "What else have you lied about? When you said you were traveling for business, where were you really? When you sent money every month, where did it come from? When you said you loved us, was that even real?" "That was always real." Marcus leaned forward. "Every choice I made, right or wrong, was trying to keep you safe." "Safe from what? From you?" The question hit like a bullet, because she was right. That was exactly what he had been doing, keeping them safe from himself, from the consequences of his choices, from the world he had built. Jake stood up. I cannot, I need air. He walked out. The front door opened and closed. Through the window, Marcus watched his son sit on the front steps, head in his hands. 17 years old, and his entire understanding of his father had just shattered. Sarah went to Emma, put a hand on her shoulder. Emma pulled away. Do not. You knew. You let us believe in someone who did not exist. Your father exists. The man who taught you to ride a bike, who helped with homework, who came to every school play. That was real. Was it? Or was that just another cover story? Emma stood and walked toward the stairs, stopped halfway up. I am going to write that article. I am going to publish it, not to hurt you, but because it is the truth, and someone needs to tell it. She disappeared upstairs. A door closed. Marcus and Sarah were alone. Sarah sat down in the armchair, looked at her hands. When she spoke, her voice was tired. I knew this day would come. I tried to prepare them, tried to prepare myself, but you cannot prepare for something like this. I am sorry. I know you are. That was never the question. The question was always whether sorry was enough. She looked up. Why now? Why tonight? Marcus pulled out his phone, showed her the photographs Volkov had sent, the hospital, the school, the house. Sarah's face went white. Who? Dmitry Volkov, Russian organization. He is moving on my territory, and he does not care about rules or boundaries or families. He will hurt you to hurt me. Sarah stood up fast. We need to leave, pack up the kids and go. Where? He found you once. He will find you again. Marcus put the phone away. There is only one way to stop this. I cooperate with the FBI. Give them everything they need to bring down Volkov. Then I dismantle my own organization. You would turn informant. I would protect my family, whatever it costs. Sarah walked to the window, looked out at Jake sitting on the steps. What happens to you after you cooperate? Prison, probably. Federal. Maybe 10 years, maybe 15. Depends on how useful I am. And the 150 men who work for you. Some will go to prison. Some will walk. I am going to try to get as many out clean as I can. But Sarah, some of them are guilty of real crimes. They have to face consequences. She turned back to him. You are going to destroy everything you built. I am going to save what matters. There is a difference. Outside, a car drove past slowly. Marcus tensed automatically, watched until it turned the corner. Old habits, the hypervigilance that never went away. Sarah noticed. You are scared. Terrified, of Volkov, of what happens next, of losing all of you. He stood. But mostly I am scared I waited too long, that the damage is already done. Sarah crossed the room, stood in front of him. For the first time in 3 years, she reached out and took his hand. The damage is done, that is true, but you are here. You told them the truth. You are trying to make it right. That has to count for something. Does it, to you? I do not know yet. Ask me in a year. After the trials and the prison sentence and everything else. Ask me when the dust settles. She squeezed his hand. But Marcus, you are doing the right thing. Finally, that matters. She let go and went to the door, called Jake inside. When he came back, his eyes were red. They all sat down again. This time, Emma came downstairs too, sat on the bottom step, still distant but present. Marcus told them the rest. About Rachel Torres and the FBI offer. About witness protection and new identities. About how their lives were going to change in ways they could not imagine. Jake listened without speaking. When Marcus finished, his son looked at him for a long time. The Naval Academy, I got accepted, was going to tell you next week. His voice was flat. But I cannot go now, can I? New identity means new records, new name, no academy. The words cut deep. Jake's dream. The thing he had worked toward for years, gone because of choices Marcus made before his son was born. I am sorry. Sorry does not fix it. Jake stood again. I wanted to be like you, the Marine hero, the guy who saved his squad in Fallujah. Now I find out that guy is gone, or maybe he never existed. He existed. He just made mistakes, bad ones. Yeah, and now I pay for them. Jake walked back upstairs. His door closed harder this time. Emma watched her brother go, then looked at Marcus. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you regret it, the 15 years, building the organization, all of it? Marcus thought about the question, about the 150 men he had employed, the families he had supported, the veterans who found purpose when the VA had failed them, about the violence and the fear and the compromise and the slow erosion of everything he believed in. I regret that it cost me you, all three of you. I regret that I thought I could serve two families. I regret waiting so long to make the right choice. He paused. But I do not regret trying to help men who had no one else. I just regret the way I did it. Emma nodded slowly. I am still writing the article. I know. But I will wait until after the trial, so it does not mess up the prosecution. It was a small thing, a tiny concession, but coming from Emma, it meant everything. Thank you. She went back upstairs. Sarah walked Marcus to the door. What happens now? Tomorrow I meet with the FBI, start the process. They will want to move you into protection soon, maybe a few days. The kids are going to hate this, leaving their lives behind. I know, but it is the only way to keep them safe. Sarah leaned against the doorframe. I meant what I said, about this mattering. You are trying. That is more than you have done in 3 years. I should have done it sooner. Yes, you should have. No anger in her voice, just fact. But you are doing it now, so do it right, keep them safe, even if it costs you everything. Marcus walked to his car, sat behind the wheel and watched the house. Lights on upstairs in both kids' rooms. Sarah moving through the kitchen. Normal evening routines in a life that would never be normal again. His phone rang. Rachel Torres. How did it go? About as bad as expected. They know everything now. Good, that makes the next part easier. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., Federal Building. Bring those files. We are going to need sworn statements, detailed records, everything. This is going to move fast once we start. What about my family? Protection starts tonight. I have agents outside your wife's house right now. Unmarked car 2 blocks down. Volkov makes any move, we will know. Marcus looked in his rearview mirror, saw the vehicle, felt something unclench in his chest. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. You are about to burn your entire world down. People you consider brothers are going to prison because of you. They will call you traitor, rat, every name in the book. You ready for that? No, but I am doing it anyway. He drove back to his office. The building was dark except for security lights. Inside, everything looked the same. Vincent's desk, the files, the photographs on the wall showing the organization's history. 47 years of operations. About to end because Marcus chose his children over his soldiers. He opened the safe and pulled out the rest of the files. 15 years of evidence. Names, dates, operations, payments. Everything the FBI would need to build their case. Everything that would destroy lives. His phone buzzed. Irish. Boss, we need to talk. Something big just broke. Can you meet? Marcus checked the time. Almost midnight. Where? The warehouse. The old one on Ashland, 20 minutes. The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone. Meeting Irish alone at an abandoned warehouse at midnight was probably stupid. Could be a setup. Could be Irish making a move, challenging leadership, removing a boss he thought had gone soft. But it could also be legitimate, an emergency that needed handling. And if Marcus was going to dismantle the organization, he needed to start managing the transition, needed to make sure his men landed somewhere safe. He grabbed his jacket and drove south. The warehouse district was industrial wasteland at night, empty streets and dark buildings, and the kind of silence that made you notice every sound. Marcus parked outside the old facility they had used for storage years ago, saw Irish's car already there. Inside, emergency lights cast everything in harsh shadows. Irish stood in the middle of the empty space, hands visible, no weapon drawn. But this time he was not alone. 5 other men flanked him. Marcus recognized them all. Senior lieutenants, men who had served under him for years. This was not a meeting. This was an intervention. What is this about? Irish stepped forward. The men are talking, boss, about this morning, about you refusing to hit back against Volkov, about giving money to soldiers who miss payments, about going soft. Marcus scanned the group, saw doubt in every face, saw fear. They were soldiers who needed a commander they could trust, and right now they were not sure Marcus was that man anymore. What do you want me to say? Say you are with us. Say when Volkov makes his next move, we are ready to defend ourselves with force. Say you still believe in what Vincent built. Irish's voice hardened. Or say you are out. Say you cannot do this anymore. Let someone else lead. There it was. The challenge. Not violent, not a coup. Just a question that demanded an answer. Lead or step aside. Marcus could have lied. Could have told them what they wanted to hear, bought himself time, kept everyone calm while he worked with the FBI behind the scenes. It would have been easier. Safer. But he had just spent 3 hours telling his family the truth. Had watched his son's face when he learned his father was a criminal. Had promised Emma he was trying to make things right. He could not lie to them, and then turn around and lie to these men. I met with the FBI today. The words dropped like stones. Irish's expression did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. The other men looked at each other, waiting. What did they want? Cooperation. Testimony against Volkov in exchange for protection. And what did you say? I said yes. The warehouse went silent. One of the lieutenants swore under his breath. Another shook his head slowly. Irish took a step closer. You are turning informant. I am protecting my family. Volkov threatened them, sent photographs of my kids. This is the only way to stop him without starting a war that gets good men killed. By betraying us instead. By ending this before it ends all of you. Volkov is not going to stop. He will push and push until we push back and then people die. On both sides. Men with families, men who trusted us to keep them safe. We can handle Volkov. At what cost? How many funerals do you want to attend? How many widows do you want to face? Marcus kept his voice level. Vincent told me to save our people or bury this thing honorably. I am trying to do both. Irish shook his head slowly. This is not saving us, boss. This is destroying us. You testify you do not just take down Volkov. You take down everyone who ever worked in this organization, including me, including these men. Not everyone. I am going to try to get immunity deals for anyone who was just following orders. Soldiers who did their jobs but were not making decisions. And who decides who gets deals and who goes to prison? You. The FBI, Irish's voice rose. You are going to play God with our lives. I am trying to give you a chance, all of you, a way out before this life kills you. One of the other soldiers spoke up. Marcus recognized him. Tony Rixey, former Army Ranger, 2 kids in college. What about our families, boss? We go to prison, who takes care of them? I will. Whatever money I have left after this, it goes to the families. I promise you that. Your promises do not mean much right now. This from another lieutenant. You promised to protect this organization. You promised Vincent you would honor his legacy. Now you are burning it all down. Vincent's legacy was not supposed to be a crime syndicate. It was supposed to be brothers taking care of brothers. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that. Irish laughed, bitter and sharp. We did not forget. You did. You got scared. Your family got threatened and you folded. Then Irish said the words that changed everything. That is not leadership, boss. That is cowardice. And I will not follow a coward. He turned to the other men. I am out, taking my people with me. Anyone who wants to survive this, you are welcome to join. Anyone who stays loyal to a rat. He looked back at Marcus. You are on your own. 4 of the 5 lieutenants followed Irish toward the door. Only Tony Rixey stayed behind, stood there looking torn, conflicted. Boss, my kids, college tuition is killing me. If you can really get immunity. I will try, Tony. I promise I will try. Tony nodded slowly. Then he too walked out. Marcus stood alone in the empty warehouse and watched his organization start to crumble. Irish would spread the word. By morning, everyone would know. The boss was an informant. The boss had betrayed them. The boss was the enemy now. His phone rang. Rachel again. And what she said made his blood run cold. We have a problem, big one. Volkov knows you met with me. How, I do not know. We have a leak somewhere. Maybe in my office, maybe in yours, but he knows. And he is making his move tonight, hitting 3 of your operations simultaneously. Marcus felt the world tilt. How many men can you pull back? Marcus, listen to me. Volkov is not just hitting operations. He grabbed someone, one of your people. Who? Tommy Sullivan. The name hit like a punch to the gut. Tommy, his best friend. The one person who had been watching his family. The one person he trusted completely. Where? We do not know yet, but Marcus, there is something else. We intercepted communications. Volkov thinks Tommy is working with us. He is going to make an example. Marcus was already running to his car. I need a location, now. We are working on it. I have every agent looking. But Marcus, you cannot go after him alone. That is what Volkov wants. He is using Tommy as bait to draw you out. Then it is working. Find him, Rachel. Find him now. He drove through Chicago at speeds that risked police attention. Called every contact he had. Every street source, every informant, every person who owed him favors. Where would Volkov take Tommy? Where would he stage his message? 20 minutes later, Rachel called back. South Docks, warehouse district near the river. We have eyes on the building. Volkov's men are inside. So is Tommy. Marcus, we are mobilizing a tactical team. ETA 15 minutes. You need to wait for us. 15 minutes might be too late. If you go in alone, you will die. Both of you will die. That is what he wants. Marcus pulled up 2 blocks from the warehouse Rachel had described. Could see Volkov's vehicles parked outside. 4 men standing guard. Inside, his best friend was being held. Maybe hurt, maybe worse. He thought about Fallujah, about the ambush, about carrying wounded men through hostile fire because that was what Marines did. You did not leave your brothers behind, ever. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, but he knew who it was. The message contained a photo. Tommy tied to a chair, blood on his face, conscious but hurt. And standing behind him, smiling for the camera, was Dmitry Volkov. Below the photo, a message. Your friend dies in 10 minutes unless you come alone. No FBI, just you. Let us finish this like men. Marcus stared at the screen, knew it was a trap, knew Rachel was right, knew going in alone was suicide. But he also knew he could not leave Tommy, could not let his friend die because Marcus had made enemies, could not live with himself if he waited for the tactical team and it was 10 minutes too late. He texted back one word, coming. Then he called Rachel. I am going in. Marcus, no, wait for my team. If I wait, Tommy dies. You know that, I know that. Volkov wants me, he can have me. Just promise me you will protect my family. No matter what happens tonight, you protect Sarah and the kids. Marcus, please. Promise me, Rachel. A long pause, then quietly, I promise. He hung up, checked his weapon. 1 magazine, 17 rounds, against how many of Volkov's men? Probably a dozen, maybe more. The math was bad, but he had faced bad math before. Fallujah had been bad math too. He had survived by being smart, fast, and willing to do whatever it took. He was older now, slower, but the willingness had not changed. Marcus Kane had been a Marine. Marines did not leave their brothers behind, even if it meant walking into hell alone. He got out of the car and walked toward the warehouse. The guards saw him coming, raised their weapons. Marcus kept his hands visible, empty. I am here to see Volkov. He is expecting me. They patted him down, found his weapon, took it, searched for wires, found nothing. Marcus had left his phone in the car, no recording devices, no backup plans, just him. They let him inside. The warehouse was massive, empty except for a circle of light in the center. Tommy sat tied to a chair, bloody but alive. Volkov stood behind him, flanked by a dozen armed men. Marcus Kane. Volkov's accent was thick, his smile thin. The famous boss who protects his people. Yet here you are, alone, abandoned by your organization, abandoned by everyone. Let him go. You want me, you have me. Oh, I do not want you dead, Marcus. I want you broken. I want you to watch your friend die knowing it is your fault, knowing you chose the FBI over your brothers. Volkov nodded to one of his men. The man raised his gun, pointed it at Tommy's head. Wait, Marcus stepped forward. I will give you everything. Names, operations, money, everything you need to take over Chicago. Just let him go. Volkov studied him. Interesting. The rat offers to be even more of a rat. Tell me, Marcus, where is your honor now? Where is the Marine who saved his squad in Fallujah? That Marine learned something in Fallujah. Survival matters more than pride. I will give you everything if you let him live. Everything, Volkov smiled. Even the location of your family. The question hit like ice water. Marcus understood then. This was never about Tommy. It was about getting leverage, about forcing Marcus to give up the one thing that mattered. They are in FBI protection. I do not know where. But you could find out. You could make a call, could not you? Marcus looked at Tommy. His friend's eyes were clear despite the blood. Tommy shook his head slightly. No, do not do it. Yes, Marcus said quietly. I could find out. Then make the call. Tell me where they are, and I let your friend live. This was the choice. Save Tommy or protect his family. Choose his brother or choose his children. Pick which betrayal he could live with. Marcus thought about Jake's face when he learned the truth. Thought about Emma promising to write her article. Thought about Sarah saying he was finally doing the right thing. Thought about the 17-year-old twins who deserved a chance to grow up safe. No. Volkov's smile faded. No. You can kill Tommy. You can kill me. But I will not give you my family. That line I do not cross. Tommy nodded. Good man, brother, semper fi. Semper Fi, Marcus whispered back. Volkov raised his hand. The gunman's finger tightened on the trigger. And then the world exploded. Flashbangs, smoke, doors crashing open from 3 sides. FBI tactical team flooding in. Rachel's voice over a loudspeaker. Federal agents, drop your weapons. Chaos erupted. Volkov's men scattered. Some fired back. Marcus dove toward Tommy, knocked the chair over, used his body to shield his friend as bullets tore through the air. The firefight lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 6 of Volkov's men were down. The rest surrendered. Volkov himself tried to run, but was tackled by agents 20 feet from the exit. Rachel ran to Marcus and Tommy. "Are you insane? You could have died." Marcus was working on Tommy's restraints. "You said 15 minutes. I gave you 8. Figured the noise would bring you faster." "You used yourself as bait." "Worked, did it not?" Tommy got free, stood on shaky legs, grabbed Marcus in a bear hug. "Thought I was done, brother." "Never. I do not leave Marines behind." Rachel handcuffed Volkov personally. Read him his rights while the Russian boss screamed threats in 2 languages. Then she walked back to Marcus. "That was the stupidest, bravest thing I have ever seen, and it gave us everything we need. Volkov on kidnapping, assault, attempted murder. He is done. And my family. Safe, already moved to a secure location. They are fine." Marcus felt his legs go weak, sat down on the warehouse floor. Tommy sat next to him. 2 old Marines, battered and bloody, alive against the odds one more time. "What happens now?" Tommy asked. "Now I testify. Now I tear it all down. Now I face the consequences." Marcus looked at his friend. "I am sorry for all of this." "You got nothing to apologize for. You made the hard call. Protected your kids. That is what fathers do." As FBI agents swarmed the scene, as Volkov was led away in chains, as the reality of what had just happened settled over him, Marcus understood something. This was not the end. This was just the beginning. The testimony would come, the trials, the prison's sentence, the dismantling of everything he had built. But tonight, in this warehouse, he had made a choice, had drawn a line, had protected the people who mattered most even when it meant losing everything else. Tomorrow would bring consequences, but tonight he had his friend. His family was safe, and for the first time in 3 years, Marcus Kane felt like the Marine he used to be. The one who protected, the one who sacrificed, the one who faced the enemy head-on and did not back down. That man had been buried under 15 years of bad choices. But tonight, in the chaos and gunfire and impossible odds, he had clawed his way back to the surface. The price would be steep, the road ahead would be hard, but Marcus was done running from who he used to be. He was ready to face it, all of it, whatever came next. The federal building stood like a monument to consequence. 40 stories of concrete and glass housing the courts and agencies that decided the fates of men who crossed invisible lines. Marcus had driven past this building 1,000 times, had never imagined walking through its doors as anything other than a defendant. Now he carried a briefcase full of evidence and walked toward the metal detectors like a man approaching his own execution. Rachel Torres met him in the lobby. She looked different in her FBI credentials and suit, less informant handler, more power broker. She scanned his face, probably looking for signs he would back out. But Marcus had spent the night saying goodbye to the man he used to be. There was no backing out now, only forward. They took him to a conference room on the 18th floor. 6 FBI agents, 2 federal prosecutors, and enough recording equipment to capture every word he was about to say. Marcus sat at one end of a long table and looked at the faces watching him. Some curious, some skeptical, all of them calculating what his testimony was worth. The lead prosecutor was a woman named Catherine Chen, late 40s, reputation for being ruthless in court and fair in deals. She opened a folder and studied him over reading glasses. "Mr. Kane, before we begin, I need to make something clear. The deal we are offering depends entirely on the quality and completeness of your cooperation. You hold anything back, lie about anything, or fail to testify when required, the deal is void. You understand?" "I understand." "You will be asked to testify against Dmitry Volkov and his organization. You will also be required to provide information about your own operations. That means naming names, describing crimes, providing evidence that will likely result in the arrest and prosecution of men you consider friends. Brothers, even. Are you prepared to do that?" Marcus thought about Irish walking out of the warehouse, thought about the 150 men who depended on him and would soon call him traitor, thought about Vincent's last words about honor and about Tommy being tortured because of choices Marcus made. "Yes." Catherine nodded, opened her laptop. "Then let us begin." For 8 hours, Marcus told them everything. Named every lieutenant, every soldier, every business. Described the structure, the money flow, the recruitment of veterans. The prosecutors took notes, asked questions. Marcus answered with no evasions, no protecting anyone. When they broke for lunch, Rachel brought coffee he did not touch. "You are doing well. They believe you." "Does it matter? I am still destroying lives." "You are saving lives, your families." She sat. "Sarah and the kids are safe. Your friend Tommy has been following at a distance." Marcus smiled despite everything. "Best man I know. Saved my life in Fallujah. He is trying to save it again now." The afternoon session was harder. They focused on specific crimes, incidents where violence had occurred, times when Marcus had made decisions that resulted in people getting hurt. The prosecutors needed this for the case against Volkov, but they were also building a case against Marcus himself, gathering evidence for his own sentencing. By 6 p.m., his voice was raw and his conscience was shredded, but the testimony was complete. Catherine closed her laptop and looked at him with something that might have been respect. "That was comprehensive, honest, exactly what we needed." She paused. "You know this means you are going to prison." "I know." "Federal guidelines for racketeering, conspiracy, and the other charges you just confessed to suggest 15 to 20 years. With cooperation, we can recommend the lower end. But Mr. Kane, you are not walking away from this." "I do not expect to." "Good, because a lot of defendants start cooperating thinking it will save them. It does not. It just determines how long they are gone and whether their family is safe while they are inside." Marcus looked at her. "How long do I have before arrest?" "We need you functional until the trial. Volkov's arraignment is next week. Trial probably 3 months after that. You will be a key witness. After you testify, we will take you into custody." She softened slightly. "I am sorry. I know this is not easy." "Easy would have been staying quiet and hoping Volkov did not kill my daughter. I chose hard. I will live with it." They let him go that evening with instructions to report back in 2 days for more detailed statements. Marcus drove to his office one last time. The building felt emptier than usual. Most of the staff had heard the rumors by now. The boss was cooperating. The organization was finished. Irish was waiting in the parking lot when Marcus returned to the office. His lieutenant walked over. "The men want answers about what happens to them. I am trying to get immunity deals for soldiers who followed orders. The prosecutors are willing." "And the rest?" "Depends what you did, whether you cooperate." Irish laughed bitterly. "Turn rat like you." "Tell the truth. Take responsibility. You destroyed us, everything Vincent built. Marcus met his eyes. Vincent built a crime syndicate on broken veterans. That was never right. Vincent saved us when the VA threw pills at us. He gave us an excuse. There is a difference. Marcus stepped closer. Irish, loyalty to the wrong cause is betrayal of yourself. Irish shook his head. The men voted. You are out. I am taking over. Marcus could have fought, but what was the point? Okay. Irish looked surprised. That is it. The FBI is coming. For Volkov, then for us. Get out while you can. We are not running. Then you are going to prison. Irish stepped back. I served 8 years in the army, did 2 tours in Iraq. I know what loyalty means. It means you do not abandon your brothers when things get hard. He walked back to his car, drove away without looking back. Marcus stood in the empty parking lot and felt the weight of it. The organization he had tried to save was saving itself the only way it knew how, by cutting out the infected part. His phone rang. Tommy. Family is settled. Safe house is secure. They are as safe as they can be. Thank you. Sarah wants to talk to you. She called 10 minutes later. Her voice sounded tired but calm. The kids are okay. Scared but okay. I am sorry. I know. She paused. Marcus, how long is this going to last? Until after I testify. After Volkov's trial. Maybe 3 or 4 months. And then what? You get new identities. New city, new names, new lives. Without you. It was not a question. She already knew. I am going to prison, Sarah. Probably 12 years. Maybe more. By the time I get out, Jake and Emma will be in their 30s. You will have built a whole life I am not part of. I built a life without you 3 years ago. The question is whether you can. Marcus leaned against his car. I can do 12 years if I know you are all safe. Sarah was quiet. Jake wants to talk to you. The phone shuffled. Then his son's voice, thick with emotion. Dad. Yeah, son. The FBI said you are testifying against everyone. Does that mean you are going to prison? Yes. Jake breathed hard. How long? Long time. 10 years at least, maybe more. I will be 27 when you get out. I know. That is not fair. Marcus felt his chest tighten. I am not being punished for doing the right thing now. I am being punished for doing the wrong thing for 15 years. I do not know how to think about you anymore. Think about me as someone who made mistakes, who is trying to fix them, who loves you more than anything. Jake was crying now. I am proud of you, Dad. I do not know if I am supposed to be, but I am. The words hit harder than anything the prosecutors had said. His son was proud of him, after everything. I am proud of you too, and I am sorry I will not be there to see you graduate. Will you write, from prison? Every week, if you want me to. I want you to. They talked for a few more minutes. Then Emma got on the phone. I have been thinking about the article, about what I want to say. Okay. I want to write about redemption, about how doing the right thing does not erase the wrong, but it still matters. She paused. Is that okay, using our story? Emma, you are a journalist. Tell the truth. I trust you to tell it right. Even if it makes you look bad. Especially then. 3 months passed like water through a sieve. Volkov's trial was brutal. Marcus testified for 4 days. Described operations, named associates, provided evidence of violence, trafficking, extortion. The defense attorneys tried to destroy his credibility, called him a criminal, a liar, a rat. They were not wrong, but the evidence was overwhelming. The jury came back after 6 hours, guilty on all counts. Volkov was sentenced to life in federal prison without possibility of parole. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood in front of a different judge for his own sentencing. The courtroom was nearly empty. Sarah had wanted to come, but he had asked her to stay away. Tommy was there, sat in the back and nodded once when Marcus looked his way. Catherine Chen described Marcus's cooperation, his testimony, his willingness to accept responsibility. Recommended minimum sentence, 15 years with possibility of parole after 10. The defense attorney argued for less, pointed out Marcus's military service, his Silver Star, his PTSD. The judge listened. An older man, maybe 70, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many men stand where Marcus stood. When everyone finished speaking, he looked at Marcus. "Do you wish to address the court?" Marcus stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "Proceed." He had prepared a speech, but standing there, the prepared words felt hollow. So he spoke from the heart. "Your Honor, I spent 12 years as a United States Marine. Learned honor, courage, commitment. Then I came home and forgot all of it. Blamed the war, blamed the VA, blamed society. But the truth is I made choices. Every day for 15 years, I chose money over integrity." He paused. "I cannot undo the damage, but I can tell the truth, can accept consequences, can spend whatever time you give me trying to become the man I should have been all along." His voice cracked. "My son wants to be a Marine, a real one, not what I became. Your Honor, whatever sentence you give me, I will serve knowing I am teaching him the most important lesson. Actions have consequences. Real men face them." The judge studied him for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Mr. Kane, I have reviewed your service record. Your Silver Star. You were a hero once. That matters. But heroism in war does not absolve criminality in peace." Marcus nodded. "However, your cooperation was substantial. Your testimony will prevent future violence and save lives. Taking all factors into account, I sentence you to 12 years in federal prison, eligible for parole after 8 years with good behavior. You will serve your time at FCI Terre Haute in Indiana." 12 years. Marcus felt the number settle over him. Jake would be 29 when he got out. Emma would have built a career. Sarah would have built a new life. But they would be alive, safe, free. "Thank you, Your Honor." They took him into custody that day. The first month was the hardest, learning prison rhythms, the violence under the surface, the way word spread that he was an informant. He took a beating in the showers during week 3. 3 inmates with connections to organizations he had helped bring down. They broke 2 ribs. Guards broke it up, put Marcus in protective custody for a month. But slowly, veterans inside started approaching, wanting to talk. Marcus had been a boss outside. Inside, he was just another inmate, but the skills that made him a leader translated. He started attending the veterans support group. At first, Marcus just listened, heard stories that sounded like his own. War, trauma, failed reintegration, bad choices. After 6 months, the counselor asked if Marcus wanted to help lead the group. He said yes, started facilitating discussions, helping guys work through anger and guilt. Word spread. The group grew from 8 to 20 to 35. Marcus found purpose he had not felt since the Marines, not leading men into crime, leading them toward something better. A year into his sentence, Emma's article was published. Not in the high school paper, but in a real magazine, a long form piece about redemption and consequences. She sent him a copy. He read it 17 times. She had told the truth, all of it. The Marine who saved his squad and the boss who ran a crime syndicate. She did not try to make him sympathetic, just told the story honestly. At the end, she wrote about visiting him in prison, about seeing him lead the veterans group. She wrote that redemption was not about forgetting what you did. It was about facing it every day and choosing to be better anyway. Marcus cried when he read that part. She understood. After everything, somehow she understood. 2 years in, Jake visited for the first time. Walked into the visitation room wearing his Marine Corps uniform. Lance Corporal now, just finished training. Marcus stood when he saw him. His son, a Marine. They sat across from each other at a metal table, picked up phones to talk through the glass. "You look good in that uniform." Jake smiled, small and sad. "Feels weird wearing it here." "No, it is perfect, it is right," Marcus's voice caught. "I am so proud of you. I used your name as my reference, told the recruiter about Fallujah, about your silver star. He said you were a hero." He did not mention the rest. He did, but he said a lot of Marines struggle when they come home. Said what mattered was I learned from your story, the whole story. They talked for an hour, about training, deployment, being a good Marine. Before Jake left, he pressed his hand against the glass. Marcus matched it from his side. "Semper Fi, Dad." "Semper Fi, son, stay safe, come home." Year 3, the prison counselor approached Marcus with an opportunity. Peer support specialists. Inmates who had made progress could get certified to counsel other inmates. Formal training, credentials. Marcus applied, went through the training, passed the certification, became an official peer counselor for incarcerated veterans. The work gave him something he had not realized he was missing, not just purpose, atonement. Year 5, Sarah visited. First time since the sentencing. She looked different, lighter, happy in a way she had not been when they were married. She told him about her new life. New city, new job. Told him about a man she had been seeing. A teacher, kind and stable. Marcus listened and felt relief mixed with loss. She had found what she deserved. "I am glad, truly. You deserve to be happy." "I am, finally," she paused. "But I needed to tell you something. I forgave you, Marcus, not right away. It took time, but I forgave you." "Why?" "Because holding on to anger was its own kind of prison, and I wanted to be free." She smiled. "You gave me that, by letting us go, by choosing us over everything else. You set us free." Year 8, Marcus came up for parole. Walked into the hearing with 8 years of good behavior, 8 years of counseling veterans. The board reviewed his file, asked questions. They denied parole. Said 12 years meant 12 years. Said he needed to serve his full sentence to show real accountability. Marcus accepted it without argument, walked back to his cell and kept doing the work. Because the work mattered. Every day he helped someone was a day he became a little more the man he should have been. Year 12 came faster and slower than expected. Time in prison did strange things. Marcus woke up one morning and realized he had been inside longer than he had run the organization. Had spent more time trying to be better than he had spent being worse. Release day was quiet. No ceremony, just paperwork and walking out through gates that had confined him for over a decade. Tommy was waiting in the parking lot, older now, grayer, but still solid. They drove back to Chicago in silence. The city looked the same and completely different. Marcus had missed so much. The world had moved forward while he stood still. Tommy drove him to a small apartment, already furnished, already set up. "Job is waiting if you want it. VA hospital. Peer counselor for veterans in the justice system. Director read Emma's article, wants to give you a chance." Marcus looked at his friend. Why do all this for me?" "Because you are my brother. Because you made a hard choice and paid the price. Because everyone deserves a second chance." Tommy gripped his shoulder. And because I know you are going to spend the rest of your life earning it. The job at the VA was everything Marcus needed, working with veterans who were where he had been, angry, lost, making bad choices. He told them his story, all of it, told them there was a way back, but it required facing what you had done and choosing different every single day. 6 months after his release, Emma called, asked if she could visit, bring someone. She walked in with a young man, introduced him as her fiancé, a public defender who worked with veterans caught in the system. They had met at a conference where Emma was speaking about her article. They talked for hours, about her work, about his, about wedding plans. Emma asked if Marcus would walk her down the aisle. He almost said no, did not feel worthy, but she insisted. You are my father, you made mistakes, you paid for them, you are still paying, but you are trying, that is enough. The wedding was small. Sarah was there with her partner David. Jake came on leave, still in the Marines, a sergeant now. Tommy stood up as best man. Marcus walked Emma down the aisle and gave her away to a good man who would love her better than Marcus had loved anyone when he was her age. At the reception, Jake pulled him aside. I am getting out, after this deployment. Going to college on the GI Bill, probably law school after that. Why law school? Because I want to help people the way Emma's fiancé does, veterans who made mistakes, help them find a way back. Jake smiled. Learned that from you, that it is never too late. 1 year after release, Marcus stood in front of a group of 30 veterans at the VA, told them about Fallujah and Silver Stars, told them about coming home broken and making bad choices, told them about 12 years in prison and the daily work of being someone his children could be proud of. Told them it was possible, hard but possible, to face what you had done and still find a way forward. After the session, a young veteran approached. 24, just back from Syria, anger in his eyes. Marcus saw himself at that age, saw the choice point. Can we talk, just us? They went to Marcus's office. Small room with a desk and 2 chairs and a window overlooking Lake Michigan. The veteran sat down and started talking about deployments and trauma and civilian life making no sense, about feeling angry all the time. Marcus listened, let the young man talk himself out, then he spoke. You are standing at a crossroads. I know because I stood at the same one. One path is easy right now but hard later. The other is hard right now but easier later. I took the easy path. Spent 15 years going the wrong direction. Spent 12 years in prison paying for it. But you are out now. You are okay. I am alive. I have purpose. My family does not hate me, but I missed 12 years of their lives, missed my son becoming a Marine, missed my daughter's college graduation. Marcus leaned forward. You want to know what I learned? You cannot get time back. You can only decide how you spend what you have left. The veteran listened, asked questions, stayed for 2 hours. When he left, Marcus did not know if he had made a difference. But he had told the truth, had offered a path. That was all he could do. That evening, Marcus sat in his apartment and looked at the photographs on his wall. Jake in uniform, Emma on her wedding day, Sarah smiling at a family barbecue, Tommy and his grandkids, a life that had continued without him but had not forgotten him. His phone rang. Jake. Hey, Dad, wanted to let you know. I got accepted to law school, University of Michigan. Marcus felt pride swell in his chest. That is incredible. I am so proud of you. Could not have done it without your reference letter. The dean said it was one of the most powerful letters he had ever read. After they hung up, Marcus pulled out a journal, started writing, recording his thoughts, his struggles, his small victories. He wrote about the crossing, about seeing his family on that street and realizing he had built the wrong empire. Wrote about the dismantling, about watching everything collapse. Wrote about redemption. about learning that it was not a moment but a process. The journal entry ended with a simple question. If he could go back, would he choose differently from the start? He thought about the 150 men he had employed. Some were in prison, some had scattered, but some had gotten out clean, had found legitimate work, had built better lives. Thought about the veterans he counseled now, the men he helped because he understood their struggles from the inside. Thought about his children, strong and principled, built that way partly because they saw what he had been and chose different. He wrote his answer. I would not change the mistakes. I would change how long I waited to fix them. The pain, the prison, the price paid, all of that shaped who I am now. And who I am now is someone who can help others avoid my path. That has value. Maybe enough to balance the scales. Maybe not. But it is the work I have left. And I will spend the rest of my life doing it. Marcus Kane closed the journal, turned off the lights. Tomorrow he would go back to the VA, would tell his story again, would try to help one more person choose the harder but better path. He had been a Marine, a husband, a father, a crime boss, an informant, and a convict. Now he was something else, a counselor, a guide, a man who had lost everything and found something smaller but more true. The crossing had been the beginning, the dismantling had been the middle. This was the redemption, not dramatic, not complete, just daily work toward being better. Outside his window, Chicago sprawled in the darkness. The city he had tried to control and learned to serve. The empire was gone. Vincent's legacy had ended in courts and prison cells. But Marcus's legacy was still being written. In the veterans he helped. In the children who chose honor over easy money. In the daily choice to face consequences and keep moving forward. He had been a boss who walked away. Now he was a man who walked toward something better. It would never be enough. The damage was done. The time was lost. But he would spend the rest of his life trying, would keep choosing better, would keep serving the cause he should have served all along. Semper Fidelis, always faithful. He had lost faith in himself for 15 years, had spent 12 years finding it again, would spend however many years remained proving it was real. The crossing had shown him what mattered. The dismantling had cost him everything. The redemption was teaching him that everything was not enough, but it was a start. And for Marcus Kane, at 58 years old with a past he could not change and a future he was still building, a start was all he needed. Tomorrow would come, the work would continue, the choice would be made again. And he would keep walking forward into a life that finally meant something beyond power and money. A life of service, a life of truth, a life of redemption earned one day at a time. That was enough. That would have to be enough. And somehow, looking at his children's photographs and thinking about the veterans he would help tomorrow and the man he was becoming slowly and painfully and imperfectly, it was. Marcus Kane spent 15 years building an empire to protect broken veterans, but lost his family protecting the wrong people. When he saw his children after 3 years, that single crossing changed everything. Here's what haunts me about this story. Was Marcus a good man who made bad choices, or a bad man trying to become good? Can 12 years in prison truly redeem 15 years of crime? And most importantly, would you have made the same choice? Drop your thoughts below. If you've served, struggled with coming home, or faced an impossible choice between duty and family, this one's for you. Subscribe for more stories that don't offer easy answers, because real life rarely does.